Living with Leah had always been an exercise in unpredictability, but the recent changes were different, sharper, more secretive. As a cybersecurity expert in Seattle, my life was woven with routines and constants, which made the slightest deviations in Leah's pattern stand out like anomalies in my daily code scans. Leah, with her vibrant passion for art, had recently embarked on a collaboration with a mysterious new artist known only as AG. Since then, her nights had stretched longer, and her excuses more thin. At first, I chalked it up to her creative spirit, the boundless energy that drew me to her at the gallery opening where we first met 5 years ago. But when our shared credit card statements started showing charges from high-end restaurants and a boutique hotel downtown, my discomfort grew into a gnawing concern. I remember sitting at our kitchen island, the credit card bill under a magnet on the fridge just across from me, as I mulled over the numbers and names. There was a charge from the Velvet Room, a place I knew was as synonymous with romantic dinners as it was with discretion. Leah had mentioned working late that night, struggling with a new piece for the gallery. I tried to shake off the suspicion. Leah and I shared everything, or so I thought. We were partners in love and life, each the antidote to the other's world. Yet there I was contemplating the unthinkable. Could Leah really be seeing someone else? Was I losing her not just to the night, but to another? I decided then that I needed to know more before confronting her. It wasn't just about my peace of mind. It was about protecting what we had, or at least understanding what we were losing. I resolved to use my skills for something I never thought I would, to quietly monitor her communications and movements. Just enough to put my fears to rest, or to confront them head-on. I waited, my eyes tracing the lines of code on my screen, a reflection of the turmoil inside me as I prepared to delve into the digital footprint of the woman I loved, fearing what I might find. My initial foray into the surveillance was as unobtrusive as possible. Using my cybersecurity expertise, I set up a discreet monitoring system on our home network. The plan was to track Leah's phone location and scan for encrypted messages. It felt wrong, spying on my wife, but the gnawing uncertainty was worse. The data started trickling in, and with it, my unease grew. Leah's phone pinged locations well into the night, long after the gallery had closed, in parts of the city where art studios were scarce but upscale hotels and clandestine meeting spots were not. The most damning piece of evidence was a series of encrypted messages exchanged with AG. Their content shielded from my prying eyes, their existence proof enough that something was hidden. I remember sitting in my home office, the glow of the screen casting long shadows as I pieced together her routes. One particular night, Leah texted that she was caught up with a demanding client. Yet her phone was last pinged at the Meridian Hotel, a place with no ties to Seattle's art scene, but plenty to discretion and quiet dealings. Each discovery felt like a tiny betrayal, chipping away at the trust we had built over years. Yet, there was a part of me that desperately hoped for an innocent explanation, a twist that would dispel all my fears. That hope led me to take a more direct approach. I decided to follow her. One cool September evening, as the sun dipped below the Puget Sound, casting a fiery glow over the city, I told Leah I was meeting Carl for a drink, my own lie to counterbalance hers. She kissed me goodbye, a bit too hastily, her mind clearly elsewhere. I tailed her from a safe distance as she drove her sleek, silver sedan through the winding streets of Seattle. My heart pounded with a mix of dread and adrenaline with each turn. The journey ended not at a hotel or a secretive rendezvous, but at a nondescript warehouse in a part of town where the galleries were replaced by graffiti and the air hummed with the energy of something clandestine yet vibrant. Leah parked and looked around cautiously before disappearing inside. Curiosity overcame me, and I followed, keeping to the shadows. The sound of voices drew me to a partially open door where I peeked inside to see Leah not in the arms of a lover, but in the midst of a group of people, her animated gestures painting her passion in the air as she spoke. The room was filled with canvases, sprays, and tools. It was a hub of creativity. A large blueprint on the wall outlined what looked like a plan for a citywide art installation, a daring and potentially illegal statement on social justice. AEG turned out to be a renowned but elusive graffiti artist, his identity a closely guarded secret, now discussing with Leah the logistics of their next attack on the urban canvas of Seattle. The air was thick with excitement and a rebellious energy that resonated with Leah's artistic soul. Standing there, hidden in the shadows, I realized that my fear of losing Leah to another was misplaced. Instead, I was losing her to something else entirely, a cause she hadn't shared with me, wrapped in secrecy not for romance, but for revolution. I returned home that night with a whirlwind of emotions. I felt relief that Leah was not betraying our marriage in the way I had feared, but also a deep sense of betrayal that she had kept such a significant part of her life hidden from me. I sat in the dark living room, waiting for her, the glow of the city lights faint through the curtains, my mind racing with questions about trust and honesty in our relationship. When Leah finally came through the door, her eyes bright and cheeks flushed with excitement, she stopped short at seeing me awake. "Jack, you're still up? I thought you were out with Carl tonight," she said, a flicker of concern crossing her face. I replied calmly, "but I came back early. We need to talk, Leah." Her expression shifted from confusion to wariness. "What's wrong?" she asked, setting her bag down slowly. "It's about where you've been going at night, Leah." "And who you've been meeting," I said, trying to keep my voice even. Leah paled, her lips parting slightly as if to speak, then closing again. She knew there was no point in denying it now. "How much do you know?" she asked quietly. "I know about the art installations, about AG, and the plans you've been making. I followed you tonight," I admitted, not without a hint of shame for having spied on her. Leah sighed, a mixture of relief and resignation washing over her face. "Jack, I'm so sorry I kept this from you. It started as just another project, but it quickly turned into something bigger, something important. AEG is a huge influence, and the work we're doing could really make an impact. I didn't tell you because I thought you'd try to stop me, or worse, you'd worry about the legality of it all." I nodded, understanding her point, but still feeling the sting of her secrecy. "I wish you had trusted me, Leah. We're supposed to be partners. Secrets like this, they don't just affect your art. They affect us." Leah moved closer, her eyes earnest. "You're right, and I'm sorry. This project, it's about using art to voice what's often silenced. But I realize now I've been silencing our trust. Can you forgive me for keeping this from you?" Looking at her, seeing the genuine remorse in her eyes, and understanding the passion behind her actions, I felt my anger ebbing away. "I can forgive you, Leah, but we need to set some new ground rules about honesty and openness, no matter what we're involved in." Leah nodded eagerly. "Of course. Anything. I want us to work through this. And Jack, if you're willing, I'd love for you to be a part of this with me. Your skills could really help keep the project safe and under the radar." The offer took me by surprise, but it also warmed me. It was an invitation not just into her world of art, but into a shared chapter of our lives. "I'll think about it," I said, a small smile breaking through the tension. "But let's start with honesty tonight. Tell me everything." As we sat down together, Leah began to unfold every detail of the project, her words painting a picture of hope, challenge, and the desire to make a difference. As I listened, I realized this was not just a path to mend our relationship, but a way to connect with Leah's world in a way I never had before. As Leah detailed her involvement with the art collective and their ambitious plans, I was struck by the passion and conviction in her voice. It was clear that this wasn't just a hobby or a fleeting interest. It was a calling, something that resonated deeply with her core values and beliefs about justice and expression. The more she spoke, the more I understood why this project had consumed so much of her energy and focus. After she finished, there was a palpable shift in the room. The air felt lighter, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was seeing the whole Leah again, not just the fragment she'd allowed me to see. "I want you to be a part of this, Jack," Leah said earnestly. "Not just because I need your skills, but because I want us to share this. It could be something we do together, something that makes a difference." I took a moment to think. My initial instinct was to protect Leah, to steer her away from potential legal risks. But looking at her excitement and the genuine desire to impact the community, I felt a surge of pride in her bravery and her ideals. Perhaps this was a chance for growth, not just for her art, but for our relationship as well. Okay, I'm in, I finally said, much to Leah's delight. But we do this right. We'll need to be smart, careful, and always one step ahead. Over the next few weeks, I immersed myself in the project. Using my cybersecurity expertise, I set up secure communication channels for the group, ensured their anonymity online, and helped strategize the logistics of their installations to minimize legal risks. It was exhilarating work, blending my technical skills with Leah's creative vision. Our evenings were spent in lively discussion, planning sessions that often ran late into the night. We were partners in every sense, our skills complementing each other, driving the project forward. It wasn't long before we were ready for the first major installation. The night of the installation was tense, but exciting. The collective gathered in the shadows, the cityscape sprawling before us as we set up the art pieces, a series of large-scale projections and murals along a prominent downtown corridor, each piece a statement about social justice issues from homelessness to racial inequality. As the first images flickered to life on the sides of buildings, casting stark, beautiful pictures across the concrete and steel, I watched Leah. Her face was alive with joy and purpose. It was one of those moments when I realized why I'd fallen in love with her all over again. The installation was a success. It sparked conversations, drew attention in the media, and, as we'd hoped, opened up dialogues about important social issues. Leah and I watched as our project became a talking point across the city, and for those nights, our bond felt unbreakable. But with the visibility came scrutiny. We knew the risks, and as the sun rose over Seattle the following morning, casting light on our work, it also cast shadows of doubt about the future. We were making waves, and not everyone would be pleased. The aftermath of our first major installation was a whirlwind. The media caught wind of the mysterious art popping up across downtown Seattle, and soon, our project was the talk of the town. While many celebrated the thought-provoking artwork, the authorities were less enthused. Our anonymity provided protection, but it was a thin veil at best. Leah and I had many late-night discussions about the next steps. We knew this could happen, Leah said during one of these sessions, her voice steady but concerned. We're pushing boundaries, and that comes with risks. I nodded, my mind racing through scenarios. We need to be prepared for legal repercussions. My job is to keep us safe, but I'm not a magician. If they dig deep enough, they'll find us. Leah reached for my hand, squeezing it. Then we stand by our work. We believe in what we're doing, right? Absolutely, I affirmed, though the weight of potential legal battles loomed large in my mind. The scrutiny intensified when a city council member spoke out against the installations, labeling them as vandalism and a public nuisance. This spurred a police investigation, putting our collective on high alert. My nights were consumed with enhancing our digital security, ensuring our communications remained encrypted and that our real identities were shielded from prying eyes. As the pressure mounted, so did the strain on Leah and me. While we were united in purpose, the stress tested our resolve. We argued more than usual, mostly about how far we were willing to go for the project. It's not just about the art anymore, Leah, I argued one evening after a particularly tense discussion. It's about our lives, our future. We have to consider the consequences. Leah's eyes were fiery, her passion undimmed. If we back down now, all of this means nothing. We can't let fear dictate our actions. Her words struck a chord in me, reminding me of why I had joined her in this venture. It wasn't just to support my wife. It was to support a cause I had come to believe in just as fervently. The turning point came when we received a legal notice. We were being investigated for vandalism and public disorder, and the authorities were close to piercing our veil of anonymity. We had to make a choice: go public with our identities to control the narrative, or remain hidden and possibly be exposed without our consent. After a long, sleepless night, we chose to step into the light. We organized a press conference, inviting journalists and art critics who had followed the installations with interest. There, we revealed ourselves as the minds behind the project, explaining our motivations and the issues we hoped to highlight. Our goal was never to deface or to vandalize, Leah told the gathered crowd, her voice clear and strong. Our goal was to beautify and to provoke thought, to bring attention to issues that are too often ignored. The public reaction was mixed, but the outpouring of support was overwhelming. Art communities, social activists, and even some politicians applauded our courage and the conversations we'd sparked. Legally, we faced fines and community service, but no jail time. It seemed a small price to pay for the impact we had achieved. With our identities now public, our project took on a new life. We continued our work, now with the support of sponsors and civic leaders who saw the value in art as a form of social commentary. Through it all, Leah and I learned the true power of unity and the strength of standing up for one's beliefs. Our relationship, tested by fire, emerged stronger. We had not only defended our art, we had defended our values, our love, and our future together, turning challenges into opportunities for growth and greater understanding. Following the legal battles and public revelation of our involvement in the art collective, Leah and I entered a period of reflection and rebuilding. The community service and fines were manageable, but the real work lay in adapting to our new roles as public figures in the local art and activism scenes. We took a short break from new installations to focus on strengthening our collective. With our identities known, we could no longer rely on anonymity to shield us. Instead, we embraced transparency, engaging directly with communities to both educate and learn from them. This new approach not only broadened our support base but also deepened our impact, allowing us to tackle more nuanced and complex issues. Meanwhile, at home, Leah and I worked on fortifying our relationship. The stress of secrecy had taken its toll, but now, free from the burden of hiding our double lives, we found new joy in our partnership. We started hosting weekly meetings at our house, turning it into a hub for creative minds seeking to make a difference through art. Leah's gallery also underwent a transformation. She began showcasing works from fellow activists and artists from our collective, turning it into a vibrant center for social justice-oriented art. The gallery quickly became a beacon in the community, a place where challenging conversations were encouraged and diversity celebrated. One evening, as we were setting up for a new exhibit featuring young, underrepresented artists, I looked around at the bustling space, filled with color and life, and felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Leah caught my eye from across the room, her smile bright as she adjusted a striking piece. A large canvas depicting a phoenix rising from ashes, symbolizing rebirth and new beginnings. "Look at all of this," I said to her as she walked over, slipping her hand in mine. "Can you believe where we ended up?" Leah laughed, squeezing my hand. "It's more than I ever hoped for. Doing this with you, it's everything." As the exhibit opened and people began to flow in, their reactions to the artwork were immediate and visceral. They engaged with each piece, discussing and debating, the energy in the room palpable. Leah and I mingled among the guests, sharing our stories and the stories behind the art, fostering a sense of community and shared purpose. Later that night, after the last guest had departed and we were alone in the gallery amidst the quiet hum of satisfaction, Leah turned to me. "What do you think about starting a series of workshops here? Workshops that could teach not just art, but how to use it as a tool for social change?" "I think that's a brilliant idea," I replied. "Let's not just create art. Let's create artists, activists, leaders." With our legal troubles behind us and our focus now on proactive community engagement, we felt a renewed sense of direction. Our work had always been about pushing boundaries and challenging norms, but now we had a clearer vision of how to do so sustainably and inclusively. The following months were a whirlwind of activity. We launched the workshops, which were met with enthusiastic participation. New collaborations formed, ideas sparked, and the collective grew not just in numbers but in scope and influence. Reflecting on our journey one evening, I realized how far we'd come, not just in our professional lives but in our personal growth. We had navigated the storm of uncertainty and emerged not only unscathed but invigorated. Leah and I continued to work side by side, our relationship the cornerstone of our collective efforts. The challenges we faced had taught us invaluable lessons in trust, communication, and shared goals. Looking ahead, we were excited for the future, ready to face whatever it might bring together. And as we planned for the next big project, under the soft lights of the gallery, with sketches and notes spread before us. I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would meet them as we had met all others, with creativity, with courage, and together. As the months rolled into a year since our public disclosure, our projects and the gallery itself became pillars of the Seattle community. What started as a covert operation had blossomed into a recognized force for societal reflection and change. Leah's vision had always been clear, but now it was amplified by our joint efforts and the growing support of our community. The workshop series was particularly successful. We hosted sessions on everything from basic art techniques to the complexities of using art as a voice for the marginalized. Each workshop ended with participants creating pieces that spoke to their personal experiences or the societal issues they were passionate about. This culminated in a community exhibition where stories and voices intermingled, creating a tapestry of shared human experience. One evening, after a particularly engaging workshop on art and environmental activism, Leah and I walked along the Seattle waterfront. The city lights flickered like stars come down to earth, reflecting off the gentle waves. We stopped to watch a ferry glide silently across the water, its lights a beacon in the fading light. Leah started, her voice thoughtful as she leaned against the railing. When I first started all this, it was about making a statement, shaking people up. But now, she paused, searching for the right words. Now, it's about building something lasting, isn't it? I finished for her, knowing exactly where her thoughts were heading. Yes, exactly. It's about laying down roots, ensuring that what we start can continue to grow, even if we're not the ones leading it one day. I nodded, my mind on the future. Sustainability, I said, not just in what we create, but in how we inspire others to carry on the legacy. Leah smiled, reaching for my hand. I love that. Our own little renaissance. We spent the rest of the walk making plans, not just for the next project or exhibit, but for how we could mentor emerging artists and activists. We discussed establishing a fellowship program, offering grants to promising talents who shared our vision of art as a tool for change. Back at home, the living room transformed into our impromptu planning area. We laid out our ideas. Charts, timelines, and applications for grants spread across the coffee table. The excitement was palpable. This was more than planning. It was dreaming, the kind of dreaming that reshapes worlds. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. We reached out to universities, local businesses, and experienced activists. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with offers of support pouring in. It seemed our dream of nurturing a new generation of artists and thinkers was shared by many. When the fellowship program launched, the response exceeded our expectations. Applications flooded in from across the country. Talented individuals eager to learn and create under the guidance of the collective Leah and I had nurtured. Seeing our plans come to fruition was deeply satisfying. But watching Leah as she interacted with the fellows, her enthusiasm infectious, her belief in their potential unshakable, filled me with an immense pride and love. We had started this journey together under challenging circumstances, but it had brought us closer, intertwining our dreams and aspirations like the vines of the lush, green ivy that climbed the walls of our gallery. As we celebrated the end of the first cohort showcase, a vibrant display of provocative and inspiring art, Leah squeezed my hand, her eyes sparkling with tears of joy. "Look at what we've built," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. "We did this together," I said, my own voice hoarse with emotion. "And we'll continue, for as long as we can." Standing there, amidst the buzz of conversation and the colorful chaos of the exhibition, I knew that our future was secure. Not just ours, but that of the collective we had built and the community we served. Together, we had transformed our fears and challenges into a beacon of hope and creativity, a legacy that would outlive us both, continuing to inspire and challenge society through the power of art. In that moment, I realized that no matter what came next, we had achieved something remarkable. We had not only changed the landscape of our community, but had also profoundly changed each other, for the better. And that was the greatest artwork we could ever hope to create.